Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, and as we continue our 5-part series entitled Things You Should Not Do, today we will talk about you should not be bitter. Bitterness means resentment, a rancor, or rough sarcasm. The human body is programmed to detect 4 primary tastes: sour, sweet, salty, and bitter. Most recently, the Japanese has discovered what is being added as a 5th taste, the taste of delicious, and that which is savory, not meat, but just a delectable taste. When we talk about bitterness, the resentment, the rancor, the raunchiness, the roughness, no individual should ever allow events, circumstances, or life to drive them into a place of perpetual bitterness. Bitterness is believed, just in the food family, to be the most sensitive of all tastes. Bitterness is known because of all other tastes. It is sharp, it's not pleasant, and it disagrees with the sensors more than any of the other tastes: sweet, salty, or sour. Bitterness almost stands all by itself. An ability to so quickly sense bitterness at an almost non-existent level is kind of important, because at higher levels, the bitterness of toxic plants is readily determined and repulsed by individuals. So as soon as you begin to taste the most minute bitterness, it sends a sensation to your brain to say, this is different than salty, this is different than sweet, and this is different than sour. So the acute sense of bitterness actually can save you from a lot of pain. Younger plants tend to have more protein but less fiber and toxics than older plants, therefore causing, even in the animal kingdom, animals are less eager to eat older leaves and plants due to the bitter taste. So depending on the plant, depending on the tree, the older that plant and the older that tree leaf might be, the more bitter it becomes. And if it's more bitter to the animal, it means it's more toxic. And to that animal, it means, do not eat this, because it may make you sick or it could kill. When we talk about the need not to be bitter, bitterness within an individual occurs when a person allows for an accumulation of negative feelings to compound at a much higher rate than more positive ones. So bitterness is not something that just happens. Bitterness is actually an accumulation of experiences. Much like any other storage container, the mind likewise must store what is put into it. When too much bitterness is stored too early, the mind readjusts much more quickly to whatever it has been trained to recognize. So if you, in the early developmental stages of life, from birth to about 5 years old, have been overexposed to raunchiness, overexposed to that bitterness, that rough sarcasm, then immediately, like a tender leaf that is more filled with protein, That is a reminder of bitterness. The smallest taste that is similar to the raunchiest bitter taste experience may cause a person to respond as if they have eaten the most mature of the toxic plants. The smallest taste that is similar may cause a person to respond with the same physical, emotional, or behavioral response as they may have followed ingesting toxic bitter plants. We may want to say this person becomes hypochondriac. There's an illness, but there is no illness. There is a bitterness on the table, but the bitterness in the room does not equate the bitterness in the room. So what happens is, when people are overexposed to bitterness throughout their life, they become acutely sensitive to any reminder of that bitterness. So like the animal kingdom, instead of eating the tender young plants that does have a little bit of bitterness, if an adult is not cautious and careful, every situation in life will be avoided, because every situation in life may contain just a hint of the taste of bitterness. Anyone can spend energy looking for something in others that will rekindle the earlier pain of bitterness that may have been much more intense. Hypochondriacs will go to the doctor, and the doctor will give them a clean bill of health. And they will go back and say, but the doctor don't understand. I tried to tell the doctor that I'm sick, and I've been telling the doctor this for years. So the doctor keeps checking for the symptoms, and the doctor says, but the illness does not exist. But the person has devised in their mind that they are sick. Relationships are much like that. Bitterness is much like that. We're going to find, for the most part, what we have been programmed to seek. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verses 8, 9, and 10, the wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceitful. What does that mean? Wisdom of the prudent is to understand the more perfect way, not of God, not of others, but the wisdom of fools is to justify their own way. Fools make a mock of sin, but among the righteous there is favor. Look at verse 10. The heart knows his own bitterness. Every person has the ability, if he or she chooses, to understand the source and the magnitude of their own bitterness. The proverb writer says the same. The heart knows his own bitterness. You'll know things about your bitterness that I will never know. I'll know things about bitterness inside of me that the world will never know. But nonetheless, the heart knows itself. I'll see you back in class again next time. Don't be late, and don't skip class.